Hey, it's Sayan. Welcome back on East. Today, we're going to talk about China's new economic reform goal for 2029, China's strategic dialogues with Japan and South Korea, and the designation of Japan's Sado gold mine as a cultural heritage site by UNESCO. The first news of the week is about the recent meeting of the Chinese Communist Party, where a new reform goal for 2029 was set by Xi Jinping. The Chinese Communist Party's recent four-day meeting, the third plenum, disappointed observers expecting major policy changes for the struggling economy and property crisis. A communique was issued on Thursday last week, followed by a resolution on Sunday, July 21st, on further deepening reform to advance Chinese modernization, setting a goal to complete reforms by 2029. Some see it as Xi Jinping's strategy to extend his rule beyond 2027, while others view it as preparation for intensified US-China decoupling, especially if Donald Trump returns to the presidency. The year 2029 will mark the 80th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, but the significance of this new milestone remains unclear. The economic situation in China has worsened since the 70th anniversary in 2019 due to the real estate collapse and COVID-19 restrictions. In this context, the term Chinese modernization remains ambiguous, giving Xi flexibility to declare reform success regardless of the actual situation in 5 years. Some experts suggest the 2029 target is a strategic move from Xi Jinping to counter potential criticisms and stay in power longer. If the current economic situation doesn't get better before the next National Congress in 2027, people might start to question Xi Jinping's leadership. By setting a new target for 2029, Xi can argue that he needs to stay in charge to complete the reforms. Others believe the 2029 target prepares China for self-reliance amid decoupling, especially if Trump wins the 2024 US election. In economics, decoupling means that two economies that were once closely connected start to separate and become less dependent on each other. They basically reduce their economic ties and reliance on each other. Trump's hard stance led to a trade war with China starting in 2017. If re-elected, his term would end in 2029. Xi is focusing on making China more self-reliant by 2029 to withstand external pressures. The plenum resolution emphasizes building self-supporting industrial and supply chains, aiming to strengthen China's economy and support Xi's goal of unifying Taiwan with mainland China. By being more self-reliant, China could indeed handle potential Western sanctions more effectively. For the second news of the week, I'll be covering China's strategic dialogues with Japan on July 22nd and South Korea on July 24th. Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Ma Chao-shu met Japanese counterpart Masataka Okano on July 22nd to discuss East and South China Sea issues, Ukraine, Fukushima's wastewater release, and detained Japanese nationals. This marked the resumption of their strategic dialogue after 4.5 years, focusing on shared interests amidst diplomatic challenges. Last held in January 2020, the dialogue was paused due to COVID-19 and US-China tensions. It was revived after a November meeting last year between Xi and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida when the two leaders agreed to have close communication on all levels. On Friday, Japanese Foreign Minister Kamikawa Yoko and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi met on the sidelines of ASEAN-related foreign ministers meeting in Laos, addressing food import bans and semiconductor curbs. Both nations aimed to stabilize ties and agreed to maintain regular communications, despite past territorial and trade tensions. China seeks stronger ties with Japan before the US presidential election, wary of potential harsher stances from Washington. It also awaited the presidential election outcome of Japan's Liberal Democratic Party, hoping to avoid drastic changes in Japan's China policy. On July 24th, South Korean and Chinese Vice Foreign Ministers Kim Hong-kyun and Ma Chao-shu held their first high-level strategy talks in over 2 years, discussing bilateral ties, the US presidential election, and North Korea-related issues. They addressed concerns over North Korea's provocations and its growing ties with Russia, following President Putin's recent visit to Pyongyang. South Korea urged China to play a constructive role in Korean Peninsula stability and denuclearization. This meeting follows the May trilateral summit with Japan, where diplomatic channels were reactivated. China and South Korea have shown improved relations with increased high-level communication, including a May visit by South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol to China, and the establishment of the 2+2 diplomatic and security dialogue. The third news of the week is about the designation of Japan's Sado gold mine as a cultural heritage site by UNESCO. On July 27th, the UNESCO World Heritage Committee designated Japan's Sado gold mine as a cultural heritage site following South Korea's withdrawal of earlier objections to its listing. The Sado gold mine is a generic term for gold and silver mines which were once located on the island of Sado in Niigata prefectures in Japan. South Korea initially opposed the listing because Koreans were forced to work in the mines during Japan's occupation in World War II. However, South Korea agreed to the listing on the condition that Japan includes the full history of the site, including the harsh conditions faced by Korean workers. This decision marks a positive step in the relationship between Japan and South Korea. The mine, once the world's largest gold producer, operated for nearly 400 years before closing in 1989. During World War II, Korean workers suffered dangerous work, poor food, and little rest, leading to many deaths. Japan now includes exhibits about this dark history and will hold annual memorial services for all workers. Japan's Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa celebrated the site's designation but did not mention its wartime history. South Korea stressed the importance of Japan, showing both the positive and negative aspects of the mine's history to improve bilateral relations. Japan's reluctance to address wartime atrocities, such as the abuse of Korean workers and comfort women, has long strained ties with South Korea. The Sado mine's designation comes after Japan initially failed to provide sufficient documentation for its UNESCO bid last year. The International Council on Monuments and Sites called for a more comprehensive historical account. South Korea's liberal media outlet Gyeongyang criticized Japan's commitment as insufficient, noting the small size of the forced labor exhibit and questioning Japan's sincerity in fulfilling its commitments. Stay updated on all these topics and more with your daily news roundup on Instagram. It's an easy and effective way to keep up with the news. Check all the links in the description. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like our content. It really helps us out. See you soon!